There are a few bikes that I'd love to have in the garage. One is a BMW R90S and the other is a Laverda Jota. So you can imagine how excited I was to head out to the Central West of New South Wales to have a chat with Chris about those two bikes and some of the other bikes in his collection.
My name's Chris and I've been riding for about 50 years. I was actually looking for a Formula V to go motor racing. And I had a very, very good friend who was much older than I was, who had done a lot of motor racing, bike racing, car racing. We looked at many, but in the end, Pete said to me, look, why don't you just get a motorbike? You can have as much fun without spending so much money and enjoy it on the road. Through a mutual friend, a BSA B50 turned up. He'd had enough, he wanted to get rid of it, and I was the mug who came along and money in my pockets and bought it for new price. Well, the damn thing, when it started breaking my heart almost straight away, it never would start. I went down another road. I bought a Norton Atlas that had been sitting in a shed for a long time, and I nearly had that running, and I kind of lost interest in it. It was big, it was heavy. Then a Triumph Bonneville came along and I started riding Bonnies, and you'd never have it going all the time. So then I had two, and then I had three. And I used to watch my mates on Japanese bikes who'd be riding all weekend. I'd be at home with all these Bonnies around me in parts, you know. And while I was in Europe, an old mate from here said to me one day, look, I don't need my Triumph anymore. Do you want to use it to travel around? He'd worked in Germany for a number of years, but his family lived in England. He'd been commuting from England to Germany. Well, it's got to be reliable. Anyway, I took that on. I had a wonderful time with it. I rode it around for about 3 years. I went everywhere on it, right across Europe and all on my own. It never let me down. It was just wonderful. But at the end of that journey, I got married, and you know what happens then. No motorbikes. You know, one day I got serious, and I made a list of the things I wanted. I wanted to be able to pick it up if it fell over. I didn't want to be fixing it all the time. I just wanted to ride it, and The list narrowed down and narrowed down and narrowed down. And then, I finished up with BMW K75. And I found a really nice one and brought it home and learned to ride again. And I rode that thing everywhere. It never let me down. It's just beautiful, comfortable, quiet, did everything I wanted to do. I rode it for the far south and the far north and the west and everywhere. It was just a wonderful thing. Still got it, it's in the shed. And then one day I went into Fraser's in Sydney to buy a part, something or other for the K75, and the salesman there said, I love triples. My dad had a Laverda. I could always hear those things. Every time I wake up in the night I can hear them. I thought, shit, yes, I want one too. Anyway, I came back with this, and it's been a labour of love over the years. I just love it. This one behind me is a 1979 Laverda Jota. It's a 1000cc triple, and it's just a splendid machine. 100 horsepower almost from 1000cc's without, in a day when you had carburetors, not fuel injection, and everything's mechanical. You know, it's pretty phenomenal. Wilder, louder, better, faster, more exciting than anything else was around, and they were of course twice the price of everything else, but this is the one I love most. It's a bike you know you're riding. People say they're raw, they're hard, they're all those things. Not at all. When it's rolling along, it becomes as light and agile as a fairy. You want to go this way, you go that way. You want to go this way, you go that way. It's not a big torquey engine like I expected, like a Ducati for instance. You've got to get it rolling. You've got to get up around 4,000 or 5,000, and then it just comes alive. You know, there's sound, it's a scream. And then there's this lovely lightness in it. The suspension's compliant. People say they're hard, it's not, it's compliant. It's just unbelievably good for its age. You just come home smiling. In 1979, the factory started making them. This must have been either the first or one of the very first factory-produced Jotas. It was received, it was put immediately into the racing team, and it's raced at the Isle of Man. It's done the English race circuit. I did contact Phil Todd in England, who knew the bike, in fact owned the bike after the race season, and he said, there'll be some things in that motor that you shouldn't know about. For example, the bottom of the barrels will have been shaved because they always measure at the top, and Hunt had also chamfered the edge of the flywheel so that he had that little bit more, that 15th more when he needed it. Well, there's a BMW R90S from 1975. Got a couple of garages. There's a 900SS Ducati. I've mostly stayed with European bikes. A little Laverda 750, which is a gorgeous thing too. BMW K1, which is kind of an anomaly, but they're just such interesting things. I couldn't walk past one when I saw it. So in the other shed there's another K1, red and yellow one. There's a very early K100 RS. There's another Ducati 900. There's an R100 RS. There's K75 there. I think that's probably about it, I think. Look, when you get old, you look back a lot. And I look back to that period of the 70s as being a really, really, really spectacular time. You know, when you sit at a computer, even the good guys know what buttons to press, but they've got no bloody idea what's behind the button. Now, the mechanical age was different. This spring connects to that strut, which is connected to this spring, which pulls on this pulley, da-da-da. You can follow the whole thing through visually, you can feel for it, you can follow it. There's a logical integrity to mechanical apparatus that you can't find in electronic stuff. And you're looking at this machine, and it is a machine, it works, it's logical, it's intelligent, and you can feel for the people who made it. You know, go back to this Laverda, it's two brothers and an engineer basically, who took on the world and beat them because they had passionate, they were riders themselves. They took the trouble to become good mechanics and good engineers, and they applied their skill and knowledge with their passion to the job, and this is the result. The best ride I ever had though was on that old Triumph around Europe, and you know, that touring riding, and I met so many people, I had so many wonderful experiences. You know, a car, you're cocooned, you usually drive with your windows up if you're not, everybody else is. You don't talk to people, you don't meet anyone. You get mad at them, but forming friendships, no. But I had formed so many wonderful friendships. People, often when I didn't even speak the language and they didn't, just make these wonderful friendships. And if I wasn't riding a motorbike, it wouldn't happen. Invariably those friendships started because somebody comes up and says to you in their language or something that they've got a motorcycle too, and where have you been? And they want to show you some rides. And it's just fabulous. Canada, through the Rockies, bears and all. I'd like a Laverda Formula 500, which is the bike Laverda made. It's a twin cylinder, 500 cc's. The things just sound fabulous. Nothing sounds like a Laverda Formula 500. The pipes are about that long. They rev, they rattle, they roar, they shake. They don't shake so much, not like an English bike. They're actually quite smooth, but oh God, they sound good. That same piece of advice I was given, if you can't see, don't do it. There's no good being a dead hero or a hero in a wheelchair. You don't have to be. You could have a lot more fun riding if you look after yourself. If you can't see, don't do it. Don't pass. Don't hit that bend if you don't know which way it's going. Hit fast, I mean, if you don't know which way it's going. Assume if you can't see there's no pothole on the other side. Don't kid yourself, it won't be, you know. It's the ability to go somewhere in a way that's enjoyable. It's the solo aspect of it, although it's nice to take your wife along too, or she to take you in some cases. It's enjoying the balance, enjoying the mechanical aspects of the machine. I like that, having to be involved in what's going on. You know, as I say, with the Laverda you ride it through the bend and you can always find a better way to do it. And you're always searching for a better way to do it. So it's mentally stimulating as well as physically and stimulating and emotionally stimulating.
I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button, and if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel. If you have a story you'd like to share, get in touch and we'll see if we can make it happen. My email is in the description. That's all for today, and remember, you can't buy happiness, but you can ride a motorcycle, and that's kind of the same thing.